the left got overly confident. They put rainbow flags everywhere, the whole trans thing. And then they tried to coerce people to call a he a she. And that pissed off everyone. Hell, AOC, Miss Cortez, she took out her pronouns from her Twitter account. Yes, she doesn't say on her Twitter account, or X account, I am referred to as she and her. Those are my pronouns. My pronouns are she and her. She doesn't have that anymore. She doesn't. Why not? Because they're realizing, guys, we can't be doing this anymore. You can only allow stores to get robbed over and over again, and for big businesses to move their stores out of neighborhoods because of criminality for so long. You can only allow such destructiveness for so long. People are gonna have enough. That's it. People have had enough. The downfall of the left. How does that happen? All right? How does it happen? The liberals got extremely confident. They got very, very cocky, and they thought that they had the country. They thought that they had the country in the palm of their hand because they had been so successful in the marketing scheme, in the marketing game, in pushing their agenda. And for a long time, liberals were successful. Liberals have been successful in the past. Yes, they were quite successful for decades. Going all the way back to the 1970s, liberals had a lot of success in the culture war within the United States. They really showed themselves as the people who were anti-war. They were anti-big, corrupt capitalism. They were anti these types of things. And they were saying that they were the people of peace and the Republicans were the people of war. And during the Bush administration, liberals really held a lot of success. They held a lot of success in the culture war, in the political war, in the propaganda war. Republicans became way too pro-war, and liberals said, we are the people of peace, we are the people of non-intervention, we are against the Iraq war. And they really showed themselves as the peacemakers, and they showed themselves as the cool rebels. Republicans were the party of Christianity, and the liberals were saying, we are for freedom for all. We are for freedom for Sodom, gay folks. And people said, wow, look, liberals are for freedom. They're so cool. And liberals really put their claws into the society of the United States, into Western society. And well, there came a point where Republican became almost synonymous with being pro-war. It became synonymous with neoconservatism. And so what happened? Obama happened. Obama won. And that was a major victory for the left. It was a major victory. People got sick and tired of the war in Iraq. They got sick and tired of the neocons. They got sick and tired of this interventionist way of thinking. They wanted something different. They wanted something that was more colorful. They wanted something just more inspirational, vibrant. They were tired of the McCains, the Bushes, and the Cheneys. They were tired of these people. That's why Romney lost. That's why McCain lost. That's why Obama won. So the liberals had success. But remember, when Obama first ran, he himself had to say that he was pro-traditional marriage. So for a long time, the liberals were the people of freedom, and they were the people of liberal morality. They were the libertines, right? They were the libertines. And for a long time, people had no issue with Sodom. They didn't. For a long time, a lot of Americans really had no issue with Sodom. They said, oh, look, you're gay. Okay, that's cool, whatever. Gay people, I don't know, they're funny. They're into clothes, fashion, salons, and all this stuff. I mean, yeah, that's how it was. And it's still sort of that way. Not sort of. It is still that way. But what happened is that the left got too confident, too cocky. And they thought, man, we got Americans to accept Sodom. We got Americans to embrace Sodom. We got Americans to embrace a lot of our ideas. And we had Obama. That was a big victory. So I think what happened was the left got too cocky. Way too cocky. So what happened? They went full throttle. They went full throttle and they said, we're going to push the trans stuff. We're going to push the trans stuff. And not only that, we are going to make sure that people will call a man a woman when he wants people to call him a woman. We're going to try to pressure people to call a he a she, a she a he. We are going to push massive confusion throughout society. So, what did that cause? The Jordan Peterson effect. Wait, you're meaning to tell me that a guy can dress up like a woman and put makeup on, and I have to address him as a she? Well, what happens if I don't want to address him as a she? Well, you're going to be misgendering this person, and there may be consequences. You may be charged with harassment. You may be fined or punished in some way. You may be fired. So you have to address this person who is really a he as a she, because he wants to be addressed as a she. Do you see what I'm saying? And that pissed off everybody. And the trans population, they are what? They're a decimal percentage of the human population. So everyone is saying, why in the hell are we kowtowing and acquiescing to the demands of mentally ill people? A mentally ill population that is so extraordinarily small that they're not a big issue at all. So people didn't mind the L, they didn't mind the G, they didn't mind the B, but when the T got pushed, it shifted everything. And people began to look at the left and say, is this what the rainbow movement is about? And even liberals started turning against it. Joe Rogan, who is super pro Sodom, super pro LGB, he turned against it. He didn't like it. And then Jordan Peterson became a superstar overnight. Jordan Peterson was just a regular professor, and no one really knew who he was. He was somewhat known in Canada as a conservative speaker. You can see old videos on YouTube of him talking with his daughter on Canadian television, talking about, depression, and talking about some psychological issues and things like that. But he wasn't famous. He was somewhat known, but he wasn't famous. He became a superstar. He was the professor who defied this law in Canada that wanted people to use pronouns that people really don't deserve to be called. Canada wanted people to call a he, a she, a she, a he. That's what happened. And Jordan Peterson came out and said, nope, we're not going to do that. That's not going to happen, guys. So, what happened? You went into the store, you went into Target on a summer afternoon, and what did you see? Rainbows, LGBT flags everywhere, and people really just started not to like it. They just said, this is too much. But what happened? The liberals got overly excited. They said, this is the future. Sodom is the future. This is the future. And you see what? You see people getting famous for bashing transgenderism. I mean, it became a whole new industry online. How many videos do you see on YouTube of people talking against the trans movement? And those videos have millions of views. It is a huge genre in the influencer department on the internet. And you saw this massive explosion in popularity for people like Jordan Peterson and others against this trans stuff. And if you're pro-trans, you're not on the popular side. You don't become popular by becoming pro-trans. You become popular by becoming anti-trans. So it became this huge thing. And Jordan Peterson was sitting there in the, the Canadian Parliament, whatever it's called, and he was saying, I'm not going to acquiesce to this law that demands that I call someone by their pronouns when they really don't deserve to be called by those pronouns. I'm not going to call a guy a woman. I'm not going to call a he or she. I'm not going to do it. So it caused this, it sparked this huge surge in conservative politics. Really, the trans movement, the push for transgender ideology, helped cause a conservative revival in North America and in the Western world in general, because you saw people in Germany defying the whole transgender ideology, this whole thing about, oh, well, there's more than two genders. And I remember this thing started years ago. It started years ago. People were talking about how there's more than two genders, there's 30 genders, there's non-binary, binary, flat binary, I'm an animal, I'm a whatever, I'm a cat, I'm a dog, I'm a this, I'm a that. It's like a complete insanity, mental illness. And you saw one of the watershed moments in the history of the whole transgender battle, the whole battle between people who want normalcy and those who want some transgender craziness. A watershed moment in this whole phenomena was when Ben Shapiro got physically assaulted by a transgender person. Remember this one? Do you guys remember that one? I remember seeing this back, I think it was in 2013, 2011, 2012, 2013. It was a while back. It was over 10 years ago. This is when Ben Shapiro really started to grow in infamy, popularity, the whole thing. And he was on this show, I forgot where, but he was on this show, and there was this guy who was, I mean, the guy is this is obviously a man, right? Oh, well, actually, it's a woman. It's a she. Address her as a she. Address her by the pronouns that she is demanding to be called as, to be called by, blah, 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 blah. And you look at this person and you're thinking, this is clearly a man.
Of course she's brave. All those years invested as this sports legend. To come out transgender is horribly difficult. It is the most difficult thing you can do. I've been overseas. I've flown helicopter missions, surveillance missions. I've been shot, stabbed. Being brave is being yourself. And being transgender is about the bravest thing you can do. Did she deserve the award?
65?
Yes.
Why are we mainstreaming delusion?
It's not delusion.
Why would you call it delusion?
Because Bruce Caitlyn Jenner, I'll call him Caitlyn Jenner.
No,
because
it's
that's
her. You're not being polite to the pronouns.
Because
disrespectful.
Okay, forget about the disrespect. Facts don't care about your feelings. It turns out that every chromosome, every cell in Caitlyn Jenner's body is male with the exception of some of his sperm cells. It turns out that his brain structure is male. It turns out that he still has all of his male appendages. How he feels on the inside is irrelevant to the question of his biological sex.
I don't agree with that. I'm not on that train. I'm not on that train. She wants to be called she. I'm going to call her she. I just have a problem with the message and the messenger.
So well, let's I'm going to do two things. I want to reiterate what Zoe said, which is the bifurcation of the courage to come forward after a lifetime as a male and a certain kind of a male versus did she deserve this award? Listen, the awards, what are award ceremonies except an opportunity to catch some eyes?
Especially the ESPN.
So, yeah, it's like ESPN. Well done, ABC. Yeah. They did exactly what their job was, to attract eyes. They did it. That's what award ceremonies are for. But in terms of the science behind gender dysphoria, you're very familiar with that, Zoe.
Very familiar.
It's not about the chromosome. Excuse me, the chromosomes within our nuclei.
Yeah, chromosomes don't necessarily mean you're male or female.
Gender.
With gender
identity. Go ahead. No, so
especially, but even so, you have a thing like Klinefelter's syndrome. So you don't know what you're talking about. You're not educated on genetics.
Would you like to discuss the genetics? Or
well, no.
What are your genetics?
So I'd stay away from the genetics and back to the brain scans.
You cut that out now, or you'll go home in an ambulance.
Yeah, that seems mildly inappropriate for a political discussion.
This is a guy, he puts powder on his face, lipstick, puts a dress on. He looks like the guy, he looks like Nicolas Cage's character. What's the name of that movie that came out, that horror movie? Yeah, Freak Legs, what's it called? Long Legs. Yeah, this guy looked like Long Legs. He looked like Long Legs. And it was just crazy to see. And this guy was talking about how, oh, I'm actually a woman and I'm trans and all this talk. Ben Shapiro pisses over, he pisses all over this guy's parade. And he says, listen, I'm not a huge fan of Ben Shapiro, but when someone is right, they're right? You got to give what is deserved. And Ben Shapiro said, why in the hell are we appeasing mental illness? He said, why in the hell are we appeasing mental illness? And this guy with his dress, the guy who looks like the monster from Longlegs, he turns around and he grabs Ben Shapiro by the back of his neck. I mean, that's physical assault right there. And he threatened him. He threatened him with some physical violence, I believe, if I remember correctly. And that was a watershed moment because it demonstrated to America and to the Western world that this is what this movement is about. It's about control, coercion, and if you do not acquiesce to their demands, if you don't give in to their demands, they will use physical violence. They are willing to use physical violence. Now, and most people in 2012, 2013 did not really care about fighting Sodom. They didn't really care so much about fighting Sodom. And a lot of Americans were pro-Sodom. Hell, the figurehead of the American conservative movement was a member of Sodom, Milo Yiannopoulos. He became the figurehead for the conservative movement, believe it or not. He was the biggest thing ever in the conservative movement. Now he's a nobody because he was exposed as a pederast, but before then, and even a little bit after, he was a major figure in the conservative movement. And before he got fully exposed, he was the big figurehead for the whole American conservative movement. I was fighting the Sodom movement before it became cool. I was fighting it in 2012, 2013, 2011. I was fighting that garbage. And even before that, I was fighting it with my minor internet activism. And conservatives, they said, yeah, it's wrong, but we gotta pray for them, and we got the gay conservatives, and they're on our side, so we can use them, and we can convert those people, and then use them against the left. And it was just crazy, ridiculous conservative left-wing proxy war that was going on. And it's like when the CIA said they could use the Muslims to fight the Soviets. The conservatives thought they could use Sodom to fight the left. It just didn't work. But now you're seeing this whole thing where it's just completely anti-woke, anti-trans, the whole thing. Now, Sodom is not done. Sodom is still going to be around, and conservative Sodom, believe it or not, right-wing Sodom, is still going to be around. That stuff did not go anywhere, and it will not go anywhere. It's going to still be here, and be prepared to see right-wing gays become a thing again. Be prepared to see, I don't know, a gay Republican popping out of the woodwork, becoming famous. I mean, don't be surprised when you see that again. It's going to happen. Trust me, it will happen. That stuff doesn't disappear. But right now, there is this whole anti-trans thing, and it's going to be sticking around for a long time. And you're going to be seeing these gay conservatives popping out saying, hey, I'm a member of Sodom, but I'm against the whole trans thing. I mean, we've already been seeing that. But you're going to be seeing that continuously. It's going to continue to show its face, is what I'm saying. So the left got overly confident. They said, we got the culture in our hands. We got it. We got this whole thing in the bag. We're going to win. We're dominating. The left got overly confident. They put rainbow flags everywhere, the whole trans thing. And then they tried to coerce people to call a he a she. And that pissed off everyone. And then just every single time the left tried to push this woke stuff, it flew right back into their faces. And you see this in the cultural war, but you see this also in the arts, in entertainment. There are so many videos out there on YouTube that are anti-trans, and every time there's a video game that comes out and there's a lot of buzz and hype about it, and then it turns out that the video game is woke or whatever, or trans or whatever, you always see videos exposing the video game and talking about how shitty it is, and no one buys the video game. Or people buy it because it's all hyped up and they buy it because of the marketing, but then they are horrendously disappointed, and then the sales for the video game drop tremendously. You see this with movies. You'll hear about a film and a lot of people go and see it, and then it turns out that the movie is some woke garbage, and then it crashes. We've seen this time and time again. And you would think that they would have stopped this a long time ago, because at the end of the day, these video game and film industries, companies, I mean, they're about making money. But no, they continue to push it, and it fails. It just continues to fail over and over again. And it shows people don't want wokeism. They don't want transgenderism. So how can the left sustain itself by continuously pushing something that is extremely unpopular. How is it? It's not sustainable. So the left is going to have to regroup and go through a reformation. Hell, AOC, Miss Cortez, she took out her pronouns from her Twitter account. Yes. She doesn't say on her Twitter account, or X account, I am referred to as she and her. Those are my pronouns. My pronouns are she and her. She doesn't have that anymore. She doesn't. Why not? Because they're realizing, guys, we can't be doing this anymore. We gotta curtail it. We gotta bring that shit down. We gotta lower the volume down on that stuff because that stuff is not popular. I remember going to Target during Pride Month, Sodom Month, and walking around and just seeing rainbow, 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 rainbow. And I got sick of it. I got sick of it. And I remember seeing an employee and he had this rainbow flag on his shirt. I remember, and I said, what's that? I remember asking him, I said, what's that rainbow? And I knew what it was. I knew exactly what it was, but I just wanted to spark a little controversy, spark a little tension, because that's how I do things. And I said, what's that rainbow flag on your shirt? He said, oh, it's to celebrate Pride. And I looked at him and I straight up told him, I said, that's disgusting. Oh man, the look on his face, he was so mad. I said, that's disgusting. That's gross. And I just walked off. But the look on his face, oh man, he was mad. He was mad. But a lot of people felt the way that I felt. And a lot of people feel the way that I feel. So I went to Target this year during Sodom Month, and guess what? Guess what, guys? No rainbow flags. I didn't see them. No trans flags. I didn't see them. Why not? Because it's not viable. It's not sustainable. If they want to please customers, they can't be pushing an ideology that most people are against, that most people feel very strongly against. It's just not going to happen. So how is the left going to market itself when it is the front group, when it's the representative movement for an ideology that most people are strongly and immensely and intensely against? It's not sustainable. So the left is going to have to pull back and say, okay, how do we market ourselves? You know, guys, the Democrat Party used to be the party of the white working man. Yes. At one point in time, the Democrat Party was the working man's party, the white man's party even. And yes, the Democrat Party has racist roots. And the Democrat Party appealed to white workers. They were with the unions. The unions represented the white workers, who are the majority in this country. White people are the majority in this country. And the Democrat Party became what? It became this party focused on appealing to minorities and talking about trans issues and saying stupid shit. Like, well, Sodom issues are black issues. Sodom issues are minority issues. So it's the same thing. And they got into this intersectionality garbage, talking about how everything, how helping minorities and minority rights are somehow interconnected with transgenderism. And let me tell you something about black folks. Black people may vote Democrat, but they're not the biggest fans of Sodom. So the black folks started saying, why are you pulling us into this garbage? Why are you pulling us into this Sodom crap? And you saw a huge, very distinct number of ethnic minorities in the United States voting for Donald Trump. Over, what was it, around, I want to say 48% of Hispanics voted for Donald Trump. That's huge. That is humongous. A substantial number of African-American men voted for Donald Trump. A lot of Arab Americans voted for Donald Trump. So now the Democrats, they're sort of dumbstruck by this, and they're saying, well, hold on. We've been the party that's been so supportive of ethnic minorities. We have expressed immense support for ethnic minorities, for blacks and Hispanics and Arabs and Middle Easterners and immigrants. Why are the ethnic minorities voting for Donald Trump? How could this be? How is this possible? Where did we go wrong? You went wrong because you got too cocky. Because you became a party associated with what? Transgenderism, which is hated throughout the country. And also, you guys have been associated with the party that is pro-crime. sympathetic to criminality. You guys do things like, well, if you rob a store and the products that you robbed are under $900, that's fine. So I can go into a store and rob $700 worth of products, and I'm not going to get charged with a felony. I'm going to get charged with a misdemeanor. So I'm going to be out of prison in a short amount of time. What kind of garbage is that? So I'm going to go into a store. I'm going to pull out my little iPhone. I'm going to take the calculator out. I'm going to use the calculator app, and I'm going to say, okay, that's $700. Okay, yeah. $800. That's $850. All right, it's under $900. Let's steal it. If I get caught, no biggie. I'm just going to go to prison for a misdemeanor charge. Ain't no big deal. And what happened? Thievery skyrocketed in California. So the Democrat Party became this party of transgenderism, pushing weird, sick and twisted shit on people, stuff that people are not willing to accept and should not accept. And also enabling crime to the point where people are afraid to go to stores, people are afraid of getting robbed, stores are closing down. Major commercial stores, convenience stores are closing down in certain areas of America because they're just getting drained, because they're getting robbed so much. So the Democrat Party became the party of what? Enabling crime and enabling Sodom, pushing Sodom onto people. And people pushed back. Ethnic minorities pushed back. Hell, freaking Dearborn, Michigan, the most Middle Eastern area of the United States, voted for Donald Trump. And this is, remember the Democrats were saying that Donald Trump hated Middle Eastern people? He was a racist against Muslim people, and Muslims are not a race, but that he was a racist against the ethnic groups who tend to be Muslim, who are generally speaking Muslim, and he was going to do a Muslim ban and all this stuff. And then what happened? What happened? They're voting for Donald Trump. Why aren't they voting Democrat? Because people don't want Sodom and they don't want crime. It's as simple as that. Plus the price of food, and plus a lot of Mexicans are into landscaping businesses. They're into framing businesses, things of that sort. And so there hasn't been a whole lot of business in that sector, in the construction sector, with the Biden administration, under the Biden administration. So they say, hey, business was great under Donald Trump. Let's vote for Donald Trump. We don't care if he said some nasty things about Mexican illegal immigrants. We're going to vote for him. We want business. Business is good. So wokeism, which is something that the left was pushing hard. You had you had Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris pushing transgenderism, talking about how the government should fund sex change operations for criminals in prison. And Donald Trump, he capitalized on it hard. He said, this is what Harris represents, transgenderism. Your tax dollars are going to go into transgenderism. That's where your tax dollars are going to go to. Funding sex change operations for criminals. Very, very strong marketing on the part of Donald Trump's team, propaganda team, campaign team. Very good. So Harris became what? She became associated with transgenderism. And rightfully so, because she did push for that crap and she did support that garbage. And for some reason, I have difficulty believing that the Democrats don't see that that's a bad idea. And like I said, I suspect that they wanted Kamala Harris to lose. I suspect that the Democrats just threw their hands in the air and said, listen, guys, we're up against Donald Trump. He has an immense cult of personality. Biden has dementia. He's going through some sort of a cognitive disease. He's not fully functioning. We had to replace him with Kamala Harris. We know that she's going to lose, but if we pick someone else, we know that person's going to lose anyway because the Trump movement is so strong. The Democrat Party is weak. We just lost our main candidate, and he's not looking good. He debated Donald Trump. He had a poor performance. So we're in a position where we're going to lose. That's it. We're going to lose. The question is, who are we going to sacrifice to lose? Who are we going to sacrifice into the process of defeat, into the hands of defeat? Well, just sacrifice Kamala Harris. She's the vice president. She's running for president, or she wants to become president. We'll have her run for the presidency. and she represents Biden. A lot of Americans hate Biden, so she represents Biden. So it's basically just voting for Biden at this point. It's basically just a female version of Biden, but more liberal, more left-wing. And everything she says is going to be countered by people saying, how are you different from Biden? And if you're telling us that you're going to fix the problems in this country, well, the problems were taking place under your boss's administration, who you represent and who you defend. So how in the hell can we trust you? So it wasn't going to work. The Kamala Harris campaign was not going to work. And the mainstream media kept telling people this bullshit that the election is neck to neck, that the campaign is neck to neck. And I always knew that it was garbage. I always knew that all this talk about, this is the closest election in American history. The candidates are neck to neck. Oh, it's so close. It's so hard to tell at this point. Oh my God, Kamala Harris is up by 1 point over Trump. Trump is beating Kamala by 1 point in the polls. Harris is winning by 0.5. Harris is winning by a half a point. Trump is winning by a half a point. Oh my God, it's so tight. And it wasn't tight. It was bullshit. That whole thing was bullshit, everybody. And I knew it was bullshit. And you had that 13 Keys guy, Mr. What's his name? Alan Lichtman. Oh, I am telling you right now that according to the 13 Keys, which has been correct for decades for predicting presidential elections, tells me that Kamala Harris is going to win. And that's that. And he was so cocky. He was so filled with hubris and pride and just excessive confidence, arrogance. Lichtman was so filled with arrogance. He said, "Oh, the keys, everyone, the keys tell me that Harris is going to win," and that was bullshit. It was bullshit. And I remember I was relishing this for hours on election night. I was watching the elections, and I said, I want to know what Alan Lichtman is doing. What's going on with Mr. 13 Keys? What's going on with Mr. 13 Keys? Everyone trusted this guy. They said he's been right on every presidential election. His predictions have been correct for every presidential election since the 1980s. I went onto his YouTube channel. What did I find? He was live streaming with his son. Everybody was trolling this dude. They were trolling his live stream with little key emojis and clown emojis. This shit was hilarious. Because Trump didn't win by a hair. The dude won by a landslide. He won by a landslide. So the Democrats are going to have to regroup and they're going to have to reform. They were once the party of what? The party of the white working man. And now the Republicans are the party of the white working man. So the Democrats are going to have to get together and say, listen, we lost a lot of Hispanics, and we were always the people rooting for Hispanics. We were always the people portraying ourselves as the ones who support Hispanics, as the ones who truly love Hispanic people. And we always told everyone that the Republicans hated Hispanics, and Trump is a racist, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to have to regroup. And a lot of Hispanics voted for Trump. We're going to have to regroup. We're going to have to go through a reformation. We're going to have to figure out where we messed up. And where they messed up is very simple. They pushed things that not only hurt people, but pissed people off. The transgender stuff, that shit gotta go. You guys can't be pushing that shit. It's not gonna work. People don't want it. Video game companies thought, if we can have some trans games, because Sodom is the future and a lot of Americans support Sodom, so let's do some trans video games and blah, blah, blah. And they fail. Films, a lot of movies have come out with this whole trans appearance, trans characters, all this stuff, trans messaging. And what happens to those movies? They fail. They don't work. And then you have an entire industry now of people going onto YouTube complaining about trans movies and video games. And these people are making bank. These people are making bank. So Susan makes a good point. She says that the 13 Keys guy is now blaming misinformation, which is true, by the way. The 13 Keys guy, Mr. Lichtman, he came out and said, okay, guys, this is where I messed up. I didn't factor in misinformation. There's a tremendous amount of misinformation online, and I didn't factor that in. and I should have factored that in. So now he's blaming X. He's saying it's X's fault because X allows misinformation. Well, is there misinformation in X? Absolutely. But not everything that's been said against the Democrat Party is misinformation. A lot of facts have been said by people when they remonstrance against the Democrat Party. For example, the Democrat Party has become a party of crime, a party of criminality, a party that says, oh, you can steal shit, you can go and mess people's businesses up, you can go and rob people, that's okay, as long as, the products that you're robbing are under a certain amount of money. Oh, you're fine. And the Democrat Party has become the party of transgenderism. That's huge. So yes, the Democrats have become out of touch. The Democrats remind me of American Protestants. American Protestantism, for so many centuries, dominated American society. It's all just, well, all I need is the Bible, and I don't need institutions. I don't need tradition. All I need is the Bible. And so what did that mindset lead to? It led to American Christianity fragmenting into so many different cults, tens of thousands of cults, and that's all because of Protestantism. And then now you have people converting to Eastern Orthodoxy or traditional Roman Catholicism. That's a big thing now. Tons of people in America are converting to Eastern Orthodoxy because they're tired of American Protestantism. They're tired of all the crazy shit they've been seeing for decades. Years and years ago, people on TBN were talking about how, oh, if you give me money, an angel is going to come into your life and bless you, and if you give me this amount of money, it's going to return back to you tenfold, and all this prosperity gospel. And Protestant ministers, Protestant televangelists, they made tons of money this way, tons of money by lying to people and fooling people, telling people that God was going to heal them if they gave them money and all this crazy shit, really taking advantage of people's ignorance. And people just eventually saw it for what it was. And American Protestant leaders became way too spoiled. They thought, man, we have these people in the palm of our hands. We're going to continue getting money for them. And what do you see? You see the typical TBN Christianity with its prosperity gospel, dead, done, gone. And a lot of people, and I remember seeing this at around 2013, and I say this because at around 2008 or 2007, I started to look into Roman Catholicism and Eastern Orthodoxy. And at around 2013, I started noticing a lot of people getting interested in traditional Roman Catholicism, traditional Latin Catholic Christianity, and Eastern Orthodoxy. And a lot of people started saying, man, I'm so sick and tired of American Christianity. It's so dry, it's so jejune, it's so boring, it's so mundane, it's so dull, and it's all about money or it's mechanical. And if it's not prosperity gospel, it's some crazy Calvinist cult. And they're telling us that God preordained everything, including genocide and rape. And God preordained some people to burn in hell, and he chose some people to be in heaven just because he felt like it. He damns people to hell before they're even born. What kind of crazy religion is this? This is not real Christianity. And so people were thirsty for the truth. They were thirsty for authentic Christianity. And I remember going through this process myself. I asked myself when I was in high school, what is real Christianity? We have this Bible here, but who compiled the Bible? How did those books get in there? How was it determined that those books are inspired by God? Those letters by Paul were inspired by God? How was it determined that those are the books that belong in the New Testament? And what is the true history of Christianity? What happened after the resurrection? What happened to the disciples? Who were the followers of the disciples? Who were the disciples of the disciples? What was the succession of the church? What was where can I find the linear history of Christianity from Christ onwards? So I started reading church history, Ecclesiastes, not Ecclesiastes. I started reading the ecclesiastical history of Eusebius, that sort of thing. And I was super thirsty, and I read so many books on Eastern Orthodoxy and Roman Catholicism. I started reading a lot of the church fathers. And I started going on the internet, watching debates between Protestants and Catholics, Protestants and Eastern Orthodox people. And I realized there was an entire online community of people who were asking the same questions that I had been asking and who were thirsty just as I was thirsty. So American Protestantism is dying, and the whole prosperity gospel stuff is dead. And so the Democrat Party has become what American Protestantism has also become, just a dying breed. And the Democrat Party has become what the neocons became, a dying breed, a dying faction. If you are a neoconservative, you are confined to the online blogs that are funded by some neocon funders in Washington, D.C. You're just writing articles for, I don't know, the Jamestown Institute or something like that. No one really cares about your opinion. The whole neocon thing is a dying movement. It's a dying faction. Because if you come out as a neocon, guess what you're going to hear? You're going to be hearing a lot of one word, Iraq. Yep, that's the one word you're going to be hearing. Iraq, 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 Afghanistan. You guys suck. So, you know, at one point in time, if you did not support the Iraq war, you were considered a fringe. Oh, yeah, I remember those days. If you did not support the Iraq war, people were saying what? They would say things like, you're a communist, you're garbage, whatever. You're un-American, you're not patriotic, you suck, whatever. Now, if you say, I think the Iraq war was a great idea, you are considered fringe. And that Tucker Carlson mentality, which is against interventionism, it's against the idea of America policing the world, that is now the mainstream dominating opinion. So there's a major shift that's happening. And the Democrat Party became pretty much like what the neocons were back in the early 2000s. They became this party of pro-interventionism, pro-America policing the world, hardcore pro-NATO. And the Republican Party is still somewhat in favor of NATO, although the voices that want to dismantle NATO are growing. Donald Trump is amongst those voices. But still, the Republicans are making it, they're not pro-NATO in the same way that the Democrats have been. Their way of expressing themselves when talking about NATO is somewhat antagonistic. They're saying, hey, if you don't give the amount of money that is demanded of you, of your GDP for the defense of NATO, we're going to let Russia just conquer you. And that's what Donald Trump said. He said, hey, if you're not paying the amount of money from your GDP for the defense of NATO and Russia wants to invade you, I ain't going to do a damn thing about it, because you are not going to be a drain on America. It's America first now. Whereas with the Democrats, it's, yeah, can you Europeans pay your fair share of your GDP for the defense of NATO? No, okay, fine, we'll fork the bill, we'll pay for it, but because we just desperately want to maintain the American empire. That's how it was under Biden, pretty much. And the American empire, as we know it, is changing tremendously, and it's declining. It's declining because, not because America is a poor country or because America lacks industry, but because America has declined in its enthusiasm for war. That's just the bottom line. And Harris, she said, I'm going to continue the fight with Russia through our proxy Ukraine. That's what essentially she said. I'm going to continue the fight helping Ukraine. And Trump said, I'm going to make a peace deal. No more death. No more dead bodies, no more dead Russians, no more dead Ukrainians. We're tired of it. And he even said, when I take office, I'm going to end the war in Gaza. I'm going to have Israel pull out of Gaza. We're going to make a deal. It's going to happen. And so Trump presented himself as what? The peacemaker. Harris presented herself as what? The continuer of war. And that's outdated. That whole neocon, neoliberal way of thinking, which emphasizes interventionism, that is a dying faction. It's outdated, just like American Christianity is outdated. You want to tell me about how the Vatican is the whore of Babylon and how Russia is Magog and how Russia is the Antichrist or whatever? That's an outdated view. A lot of people are just not going to give a shit about that opinion because no one really talks like that anymore. Not as much, at least. People want to hear about spirituality. They want to hear about the sacraments. They want to hear about authentic Christianity. They want to hear about apostolic succession. That's what people want to hear about. They want to hear about true Christianity where they can connect with the uncreated energies of God. They don't want to hear about how Putin is the Antichrist, and how if you give money to some minister, it's going to come back to you tenfold. They don't want to hear about that superstitious stuff. Politics Free Black Myth says 10 million copies in 3 days as DE Games Dustboard and Concord flop. So I'm going to give you guys a few examples of how this wokeism stuff is so hated, and how the left pushing it was to their own demise. And if the left is going to reform itself and regain its strength, it's going to have to drop the woke stuff, or at least masquerade it in a different way to gain people's favor and to gain people's trust that they're not going to try to coerce people into calling a he a she and a she and a he. And so because wokeism is so unpopular, and the left is the face of wokeism, how the hell is the left going to sustain its popularity? It's going to have to go through a reformation. That's what I'm saying. So let's get a little bit into this article here. So it says here, Politics Free Black Myth sells 10 million in 3 days as DEI Games, Dustboard and Concord flop. So these woke games are suffering. They're not selling well. They keep tanking because people don't want them. And because these companies are interested in making money, they're going to have to reform themselves. They're going to have to make games that people want to play. They can't be appealing to some woke-ass minority that doesn't represent most people. And the same thing goes for the left. If the left is going to try to regain its ground and regain its popularity, it's going to have to drop this woke cult. So it says here, wokeness might be on its last life in the gaming world. So it says here, Concord, which was a video game that was very expensive to make, but it failed financially. It says here that Concord, the new shooter from Sony Entertainment, looks primed to be one of the biggest flops in gaming history. The day of its grand launch saw an anemic 697 concurrent players worldwide. That's it. And they put how much money? It's been estimated that they spent $50 to $200 million to make this damn game. And it was filled with woke garbage. And it says here, the day of its grand launch saw an anemic 697 concurrent players worldwide. So wokeism is such a failure, marketing-wise, financial-wise, entertainment-wise, sales-wise, all this stuff. It's been such a failure, and the left has made itself the face of this movement. How can the left regain its popularity? How can it try to boost its position and revive itself? If it continues to push wokeism, it's going to have to drop it. And here's the thing. AOC dropped that pronouns garbage. That whole thing about, oh, my pronouns are he and she. AOC dropped it. So it says here that Concord, okay, complete failure. And then it says here, while we don't have an exact budget for Concord, estimates have similar games put it anywhere from 50 to 200 million. Complete failure. Rocksteady's Suicide Squad, another woke-ass game, killed the Justice League. Okay, that game debuted to a comparatively large 13,000 players and still managed to lose the studio $200 million. So this is a complete failure. Suicide Squad was massively panned at the time for its blatantly woke elements, including a lesbian, race-swapped version of Batman nemesis Mr. Freeze, courtesy of leftist consultancy firm Sweet Baby Inc. Yeah, and everyone, guys, there are people who are making loads of money on YouTube right now by simply doing videos bashing Sweet Baby Inc. and woke video games. And Sweet Baby Inc. is some sort of a consulting company that tells these video game companies to put woke characters, and these companies do it thinking that it's going to better the sales. And all you have to do is just go onto YouTube and see the plethora of videos bashing wokeism and bashing woke video games and woke movies and woke TV series, like the recent Lord of the Rings series that a lot of people hated because, from what I have heard, it's quite woke. And you can see that these videos bashing these games and these series and these movies are getting millions upon millions of views. The hatred against wokeism is so strong that these videos are getting millions of views. They're garnering so much attention, and People are making tons of money making videos bashing wokeism. So what does that tell you? You got all these videos against wokeism garnering oceans of views. What does that tell you? It tells you that society is sick of it. The left is going to have to reform. It's going to have to reform itself. Suicide Squad was massively... Okay, I already read this. The game features a menagerie of hideous DEI characters with their pronouns proudly flagged in the corner. I mean, this is so retarded. Nobody wants to play this crap. A simple glance at the character design indicates this game was not made for the average player, but rather for radical leftists. Gamers, for the most part, I think lean right. They have some liberal views and all that, but I think they lean right on these issues, and they don't want to see this bullshit. They want to see old school World of Warcraft. They want to see Total War Medieval 2. They want to see Halo. They want to see Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2. Those are the games they want to see. They don't want to see woke crap. What is that abomination? That's right. This is a good stream. I appreciate that. Following closely behind Concord on the woke train to failure is Dustborn, described by Forbes as among the most unrepentantly liberal and left-leaning games out there. The game almost feels like a parody of wokeness. Unfortunately, interviews with the game's creator and developers reveal this is an earnest attempt at creating a woke magnum opus. So this guy said, I'm going to make this magnum opus of a woke video game. Complete failure. Complete and utter failure. It's garbage. It's not working. And then you go here, and here's another example of a woke video game that cost a lot of money and failed miserably. BioWare claims Dragon Age Veilguard. Now, this game has been making the rounds through the YouTube influencer world, and you have tons of videos on YouTube about how this game sucks because it's woke garbage and it's crap, and there are people making bank right now just doing videos bashing this video game. And I never heard about this game until I saw the plethora of videos, or until I saw how many videos are out there bashing this game. So I took a look at it myself and I said, oh damn, this game sucks. This game, if you play it, it puts you in a corner where you have to choose wokeism. I'm not joking. So there's this one part of the game where your character wants to be trans, or says that he has internal feelings pushing him to become trans. And then it gives you these dialogue options. And no matter which option you pick, it's pro-trans. You have to become trans. I saw this on YouTube and I said, damn, that's all I need to see. This game is garbage. I'm glad it failed. I'm glad. It's freaking trash. It's crap. And so this is a it's not just games, guys. Like, oh, Ted's talking about video games. No, no, no. What I'm trying to say is that this is a reflection of society. Popular video games, or games that fail. Movies that are popular, or movies that fail. TV series that are popular, and TV series that fail. These are all reflections of society. And if you have a TV series that's super popular, that's a reflection of society. And if you have somebody making a Lord of the Rings series and tons of people hate it because it's filled with some woke stuff, that tells you something. People hate the woke shit. Same thing with video games. They don't want to see it. They don't want to see this shit. And if there's something that we know about the gaming world, it's that it's filled with people who love edgy talk. They love using racial slurs. They love insulting each other. This is not, the gaming world is not a place that's friendly towards wokeism. It's not. It's not going to work. So it says here that this game is an utter failure. And the company was so ashamed of the failure of the game, they didn't want the actual facts about the game's failure to be given to the public's ears. But it got leaked out. And it says here that Dragon Age the Veilguard sales have reportedly reached 1 million copies, according to an internal memo from BioWare. So you say, okay, 1 million, that sounds great, but hold on a second. However, this might not be good news for the once popular RPG studio. Since the Halloween release of Veilguard, there have been a striking number of leaks coming out of BioWare and EA. Independent commentators like Smash JT, Andy Mayon, names I don't remember. I don't know who any of these people are. And it doesn't matter because you'll forget the names after a few seconds. But it says here that these people have been spilling the tea regarding abysmal sales numbers, horrible reviews. Yup, absolutely. Shocking return rate. Shocking return rate. People are saying, give me my money back. This game sucks. Oh, I love it. I love it. This is so awesome, guys. Plummeting resale value. So the game's a failure. And it says here that according to sources close to the situation, BioWare is furious at the leaks and have launched an internal investigation because it turns out that the reality is that the game is a failure. And it says here, Dragon Age Veilguard has failed to recover its costs. It has failed and no holiday sales won't save it. BioWare is so angry that Dragon Age Veilguard sales numbers have leaked that they are launching an internal investigation. You really enjoy my lives. I appreciate that, sir. Thank you so much. So this game, and look at this game. People don't want to see this. So the game is a failure, and it says here, even if this figure is true, blah, 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 developments, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it's filled with woke stuff. Yeah, it's a woke bullshit game. So the left, like I said, the left has been pushing wokeism. It is the political face for wokeism. The Democrat Party is the political branch of wokeism. And it used to be the party of the working man. And it was popular when it was the party of the working man. And guess who became the party of the working man? The Republicans. The Republicans kind of adopted the old school Democrat strategy. And let's remember, Trump is an old school Democrat. He's an old school Democrat. So the Republican Party currently is the party of the working man. And a lot of people are saying that the Democrat Party no longer represents them because it no longer has actually worked to connect with them and familiarize itself with them, because the Democrat Party is pushing things that don't represent the interest of the people. For example, like helping criminals and enabling massive robberies, making people terrified of being robbed and shoplifted. Yeah, people don't like that. Who would have thought, right? So I want to show you guys something else. I thought this was very disappointing. The movie Gladiator, one of the classics of cinema. Gladiator. One of the classics of cinema, guys. They are making a second, they've already made a second Gladiator movie. And I'm not sure if it's been released yet, but I was going to go see it until I saw this story. That's right. Denzel Washington came out and said that he kissed a man for the Gladiator movie, but they cut out the scene. Now ask yourself, why would they cut out a scene of Denzel Washington kissing a man on the lips? Because the director knew, the people behind the film knew, guys, this wokeism stuff is not popular. It's not going to help us. And you're going to have an army of YouTubers coming out making videos about how Gladiator 2 sucks and how people shouldn't go see it, and it's going to hurt our sales. Let's not push wokeism. So they had this scene where Denzel Washington kisses a man on the lips, then they cut it out because they knew it would be bad for marketing. They knew it was going to be bad for marketing. So what does Denzel Washington do? He kind of sabotaged Gladiator 2. I had a lot of respect for Denzel Washington. I thought he was one of our guys, but I was wrong. We lost Denzel, guys, or we never really had him in the first place. Very disappointing. I think he's one of the greatest actors in the world, but this is very disappointing to see. Yeah, we lost one, guys. Now all we have left is Mel Gibson. That's all we have left. And Denzel Washington, it looks like he has sabotaged the marketing for this film because he went onto the media and said, hey guys, I kissed a guy on the lips, but they deleted it. So apparently they didn't want the public to know that they had a gay scene in Gladiator 2. Denzel comes out and says, oh yeah, I did it. Yep, I did. And there's a video you can see. Let me find it real quick. There's a video you can see. It's on Twitter.
I actually kissed a man in the film, but they took it. They cut it. I think they got chicken.
I loved the film. I wore rings and inspired by your character.
Yeah, I see you got all 10 fingers. There you go.
Oh yeah, double sometimes. You gotta get them all in. Like every time.
What about the earring game? I actually kissed a man.
And it's I don't know if he thought that would help the marketing, but I don't think it's helped the marketing. Because as I was searching about this on Twitter, or X as it's known, I found this video of a brother saying that he is very, very disappointed about Denzel Washington doing this. Let's give this a listen real quick.
I gotta ask you about Denzel Washington. Seems so disappointing. He's the star of Gladiator 2. He's gone on record for some odd reason. I actually kissed a man in the film, but they took it out. They cut it. I think they got chicken. I kissed a guy full on lips, and I guess they weren't ready for that yet. I killed him about 5 minutes later. It's Gladiator. It's the kiss of death.
So the brothers are disappointed. A lot of people are disappointed. And I was looking at the comments for this video. Some of these comments are absolutely hilarious. Gladiator went woke. I was thinking the same damn thing. Gladiator went woke. This film will bomb. Who the heck is getting off on feminizing movie star men? Here's my prediction for Gladiator 2, guys. I think this movie's going to bomb. And I think that this movie is going to be met with a whole army of anti-woke YouTubers who are going to make a lot of money doing videos bashing Gladiator 2, and they're going to say that the film sucks and it's woke garbage or something like that. That's my prediction. I could be wrong, but that's my prediction about the whole thing. Yeah, I think he's I think a lot of people are going to go see this opening night, weekend, that sort of thing. Opening weekend night, that type of thing. But I think a lot of people are going to be disappointed. I was going to go see this film in theater because I love Gladiator, the original. It's a classic. It's a masterpiece. You can't beat it. With that guy, what's his name, Russell Crowe and Joaquin Phoenix, and they all did a great job. The guy who played Juba, the African dude, he did a great job as well. Great movie, real masterpiece of cinema. Not as good as Braveheart, but a great film nonetheless, a masterpiece. I was gonna go see it, and then I saw this, and I said, no, I'm not gonna see it. If this guy is boasting about indulging in Sodom for a film as a marketing gimmick, I'm not gonna see it. And my prediction is that this film is going to bomb, and I think a whole bunch of YouTubers are gonna come out telling people that this film sucks and it's woke, and there's gonna be high sales in the beginning, and then I think it's gonna sort of maybe decline. Or maybe not. We'll see. We'll see how it works. I remember when Indiana Jones 4 came out, and I saw Indiana Jones opening weekend when it came out, and that theater was packed, full of people, tons of people. And they were excited because it's Indiana Jones. Wow, a fourth film for the Indiana Jones universe. How exciting. So it was packed opening weekend, and then a lot of people later on said the movie sucked, and it did. Indiana Jones was a horrendous disappointment, and I have a feeling that Gladiator 2 is going to go through a similar experience. That's my opinion. So that's one of the reasons why the left has failed. It's because it's been pushing this garbage for too long, and people have had enough. They are sick of it. And then another reason why the left has failed is because it has become known as the party of crime. So let's get into that a little bit. Now he is playing Hannibal, who was not even black. Yeah, I know, I heard about that. Just like they did with Star Wars. You know, the only Star Wars films that I have seen, I saw the one with Darth Vader where he says, "Luke, you are my father." It's the infamous Star Wars movie. And I saw episode 1. and I think I saw episode 2. I do not remember ever seeing another episode after that. But there have been numerous more Star Wars films that have come out over the years, and from what I have heard, they all suck. And they're all woke garbage, and they're all feminist crap. So here's an article from Fox News that came out recently. It says, voters across the country decide on state ballot measures. While many states voted on abortion measures and immigration initiatives, several blue states passed tougher crime measures. You're allowed to rob a store. These are the words of Donald Trump. And again, he used this against the Democrats, rightfully so. And it helped him, understandably and rightfully so. You're allowed to rob a store as long as it's not more than $950? Has everyone ever heard of that? President-elect Donald Trump said at a press conference in Bedminster, New Jersey in August. You can rob a store and you have these thieves going into stores with calculators, calculating how much it is? While convicted shoplifters have faced charges, slaps on the wrist, California voters thought the penalties were not enough. Obviously not. Who would have thought that being light on crime means you're going to get more crime? Because criminals only understand one language, the language of strength and punishment. It's like what St. Paul says in the New Testament. He said, the law is not made for the just, but for the unjust. It is made for the criminal. If you are not a criminal, you love lawfulness, not lawlessness. You love justice, not injustice. You will hate crime. And you will also hate criminals. And you will want to see punishment for the criminals in order to prevent crime. That's how you prevent crime. You enact heavy punishment on criminals. That's how you prevent crime, because criminals only understand the language of force. That's it. That's it, guys. Proposition 36 now makes shoplifting a felony. Oh, make it a felony. Wow. Actually punish criminals. No brainer, guys. According to California crime data, shoplifting has been on the rise. No shit. Incidents jumped 27.5% between 2018 and 2023. Proposition 36 also tackles another issue in California, drug addiction. Yep, who would have thought that allowing people to take drugs and walk around in the streets like zombies would actually terrify people and spur people to vote for political policies that would get rid of that problem and to actually sweep these drug addicts off the streets. Who would have thought that seeing a bunch of drug addicts would get people to want to see drug addicts disappear off the streets? The measure increases penalties for some drug charges, including fentanyl, the most dangerous drug. During the same time period, fentanyl overdose deaths were also up by more than 770%. Holy moly! Good God, guys. 770% increase in fentanyl overdose deaths in California. I wonder how it is nationwide. And I wonder when they add up all the fentanyl overdose deaths in America, I wonder if George Floyd is one of them. I wonder if George Floyd is counted as one of them, because he is one of them, guys. We all know that cop's knee didn't kill that guy. It was the fentanyl. The fentanyl killed George Floyd, and the fentanyl has killed a lot of people. We don't call him Fentanyl Floyd for no reason, gentlemen. We should allow everyone to take drugs. That's their right as an American. In America, you have a right to speak like a retard, and you have a right to take drugs. That doesn't help society. It ruins society, destroys societies. Thievery and drug addiction destroys societies, everyone. It forces stores to leave neighborhoods. It deprives good people in poor neighborhoods of convenience grocery stores, convenience stores like Target and Walmart. It hurts good people. You don't help people by enabling crime. You're hurting people. And these people say, well, we're the party of the black people. We want to help black people. How are you helping black people by enabling crime, which pushes grocery stores out of their neighborhoods and makes food deserts? Racism does not create food deserts. Crime creates food deserts. And ultimately, enabling crime creates food deserts. It's because of racism. No, it's because you guys keep voting Democrat and you guys keep voting for these politicians who enable crime. That's the reason why. You can blame George Soros all you want, but the fact is that people choose these DAs who enable criminality. The changes in the new measure stem from an initiative passed in 2014, which downgraded some drug offenses and thefts under $950 from felonies to misdemeanors. Oh, wow. Let's enable more criminality. So this bullshit's been going on for over 10 years. And who would have thought that eventually people will get sick of it? Everyone has a breaking point. Everyone. I don't care how liberal they are. Everyone has a breaking point. And you can only enable criminality in a society so much. You can only allow it to go on for so long. You can only allow stores to get robbed over and over again, and for big businesses to move their stores out of neighborhoods because of criminality for so long. You can only allow such destructiveness for so long. People are going to have enough. That's it. People have had enough. And that's why you see unprecedented amounts of minorities voting Republican. But we're the Democrat Party. We've been helping minorities. We're the party of minorities. Apparently not. Apparently that's a bunch of bullshit. Apparently you guys have been enabling criminality in ethnic minority neighborhoods and ruining their neighborhoods. I know we're all here to say no. So you have these assholes, right? So the people said, okay, we're going to vote to make shoplifting into a felony, right? Because we're sick of this crime garbage. We're sick of these schmucks robbing stores. And then you got these assholes, these thugs, who come out and say, no, Proposition 36 is racist. Look what it says here. Look. Here is an activist that they're quoting who's against Prop 36. This person says, this schmuck, this thug says, I know we're all here to say no to Prop 36, but some of us are here to say hell no to Prop 36. Oh, so hell yes to criminality. While the initiative passed with overwhelming support, I wonder why. Those against the measure say it will disproportionately imprison poor people. It's going to imprison the poor folks. What about the poor? What about the poor? Why are they robbing? Why are they stealing? Oh, because they starving? Why are they stealing Gucci purses and phones and underwear and toothpaste? Why is it in California? They quoted a criminal, absolutely. Why is it in California you got to go ask somebody to unlock a freaking cage just to get a bottle of bloody toothpaste? That's right, because they're poor? Because a bunch of poor folks? No, they're criminals. Lock them up. I said this last stream. I said this last week. Prisons are basically human pounds. You have a pound for dogs that are uncontrollable. They bite kids. I don't know. They don't want the dogs to tear children up, so they put them in a pound. And then you go to a pound, and all the dogs are screaming at you, barking at you. Prison is a pound for humans. And they are certain humans. I don't know why they're this way. Bad upbringing, no father, whatever. There are certain humans who are feral. You can't reform them in normal society. You can't. You put them in normal society. You say, hey, listen, we're not going to give you a felony charge for robbing your fellow man. You can, destroy people's businesses, destroy your city, destroy your community, all that stuff. And you're still a good person. We're going to baby you. We're going to call you a good person. We're not going to call you an evil, malicious person. And do you know what that criminal is thinking? Oh my God, these people are suckers. I can take advantage of this. Oh, you guys are giving me lenient laws? I'm going to take advantage of them. Lenient laws for me to take advantage of. That's how criminals think. Any weakness, any leniency is seen as a weakness to capitalize upon in order to advance your own criminal interests. That is the bottom line. In fact, I would argue that Prop 36 ain't hard enough. It's better than what they had before. But I will say that Prop 36 ain't hard enough. It should be more. I think we should go to Sharia law. And I'm not even a Muslim. But I think we should impose a little bit of Sharia law. We can learn something from our Middle Eastern brothers. Let's not confine the Middle Eastern people to this misconception that we have about Middle Eastern people, that they're primitive people or something like that. We can learn something from them. And Sharia law says hand chopping is what's imposed for criminals. I think a little bit of hand chopping will go a long way. That's my opinion. I'm going to leave it at that. And the state should enact it. I think the state, through legal legislative action should establish a law that says if you steal, if you're a shoplifter, you're going to lose one of your hands. And then you can't steal. Or if you're crazy enough to steal again with your last remaining hand, guess where that hand's going to go? It's not going to go on someone else's products anymore. It's going to be gone. Now you're going to have no hands. That's my opinion. I think a little bit of Sharia law will help. A little bit of Islamic law won't hurt. Damn, Ted, you're spot on. I appreciate that. Why has the war on drugs failed? I don't think it really... Did it fail? Did it? I don't know. I never really studied the war on drugs. All I know is that criminals need to be punished harshly to prevent criminality. Western Europeans learned from the Middle Easterners the entire hygiene thing. That's what I've heard. Yeah, I heard that Vikings, you would have like 100 Vikings in one ship and they'd all use one bar of soap. And Ibn Fadlan, the Arab explorer, hung out with these Vikings in the ship, and he says, "You guys are using one soap bar between all of you? That's disgusting." See, and here's the thing about criminals. Criminals are leeches. Thieves are leeches. They're leeches because in order for a business to survive, in order for a business to exist, people need to spend money on the products that those businesses are selling. If no one's buying the products, those businesses won't exist. So if you have a grocery store, that grocery store is existing because enough people are coming into your store and they're buying milk and eggs and meat and cereal and whatever they want to eat. So thieves go in there and they steal, and they will continuously rob from the same store. And that store is existing not because of the thief, it's existing because people are putting money into the store for that store to survive. And then the prices of the products go up because the store owner needs to cover the cost of what was lost because of the thieves. So the people who are law-abiding, the law-abiding citizens of society, are the ones who are paying for the thief's stolen goods. So they're leeches. But we're sitting here telling these DAs, these Soros-backed DAs are telling them, "Oh no, you're just a poor person. No. You're just a nice poor person. No, we won't call you a criminal. No, we won't do that. No." And the criminals are sitting there like gremlins saying, "Oh, suckers. Oh yeah. Oh yes, I'm poor. Oh, I'm just a poor boy. I'm just a poor boy. Nobody likes me." Yeah. The white Sharia law. Oh, no, that was, I heard white Sharia years ago. That's pretty creepy stuff, though, when you have white nationalists talking about imposing Sharia law. I'm saying a little bit of Sharia won't hurt, okay? A little, when it comes to thieves. This is not the time to return to our ridiculous failed policy of incarceration. Oh, really? Well, let's check out something here, guys. Let's look at a country that actually imposed harsh punishment on criminals and see how it actually is a success. Check this out. U.S., this is in the news here. U.S. lowers El Salvador travel advisory to level 2 after caucus protests. So for a while, the U.S. government was discouraging its citizens from visiting El Salvador because El Salvador was one of the most dangerous countries in the world. It had one of the, if not the highest murder rate on earth. And the U.S. government would say, "Listen, don't go to El Salvador. It's very dangerous." Well, the U.S. government just lowered its travel advisory to level 2, which means El Salvador is really relatively a much safer place. Not relatively, it is a safer place to visit. And I know a guy who's from El Salvador. Well, he was from Chicago, but his family came from El Salvador. And he told me last year he visited El Salvador, and he said, "Ted, it's a totally different country. It's so safe." He said, "You can go walk the streets at night. You can go to the plazas at night." Because, Latin American countries all have plazas. Like every town, every city has a plaza for families to hang out and eat ice cream. It's actually really cool. I used to live in Mexico, so I used to hang out in the plaza all the time. Amazing. It's an amazing experience. You sit there in the evening, feeling the breeze, eating an ice cream, eating a taco. Kids are running around. Kids are playing. Families are out. It's very vibrant. Good vibes. It's really, really cool. I love the plaza culture of Latin America. I went to Spain, and they also have a plaza culture there. I loved it. I mean, that's where the Latin American countries got it from. I went to Italy. Italy also has a really strong plaza culture. You go to the plaza in the evening time. You have a gelato. I mean, it's great. I love it. So El Salvador had all this criminality, had one of the highest rate, if not the highest murder rate on earth, and now it's a safe country. It's a normal country again. So look what it says here. The United States had previously refused to lower the country's travel designation from level 3, reconsider travel, the second highest rating possible, despite the transformation of the country's crime situation. Over the past decade, the country had gone from having the highest murder rate on earth to one of the lowest, largely due to President Nayib Bukele, who is Palestinian, by the way, a Middle Eastern guy, made El Salvador into a normal country again. So people online are saying that Palestinians are savages. It was a Palestinian who made El Salvador into a normal country. And who's running Mexico? Who's the new president of Mexico? Look at her last name. And the people, you have members of her demographic who keep saying that Palestinians are barbarians. Who's running Mexico? What's the crime rate of Mexico? It's horrendous. What's the crime rate of El Salvador? A hell of a lot better than Mexico. And who's running El Salvador? Yeah. After protests from the newly formed Congressional El Salvador Caucus, the United States lowered the travel advisory to level 2. While crime remains a concern in El Salvador, there has been a significant reduction in gang-related activity and associated crime in the last 2 years. The updated advisory on the U.S. Embassy's website says this includes drops in violent crimes and murders. U.S. government employees may travel throughout the country during daylight hours. I remember reading about how bad El Salvador was. In El Salvador, you couldn't just walk the streets like a normal person. There were criminals who would kill you, rob you. If you parked your car somewhere, the criminals would come and say, hey, you owe us money for parking your car in our territory, and if you didn't pay them, and they would always ask you, they would always extort you with a very large demand of money. And if you did not pay them the money, you know what they would do? They would steal your car. And you couldn't do anything about it. They had torture chambers. They were dismembering people. People who were merchants who were selling products on the streets, they couldn't sell their products because they would get killed by the criminals, or they would be brutalized by the criminals somehow, abused by criminals. I mean, guys, it was a nightmare. El Salvador was a dystopian shithole. It was a dystopian shithole. It was garbage. But you know what? Every society has a breaking point. And the people of El Salvador had a breaking point. And they said, enough is enough. Enough of this bullshit. And do you know what the El Salvadorian police started to do? They started saying, hey, you over there, you got a weird-ass tattoo. That looks like a gang-related tattoo. You're coming with us. Come here. We're going to investigate you. And they did that. They would clean the streets of garbage, human garbage. They cleaned the streets. And they made the country safe. The same thing can be done in the United States. They say, oh, black neighborhoods are filled with crime. Yes, they are. But the criminals are a minority. The majority of black people in America are not criminals. The criminals are a minority. But that minority is ruining the black areas, ruining the African-American neighborhoods. So if we just got rid of the criminals, then black neighborhoods would get tremendously better. I don't have to be a political science PhD to know that. Get rid of criminal, there's no crime. But it's a very complicated situation, Theodore. It's a very, very complicated situation. No, it's not. No, it's not. No criminal, no crime. Bottom line, get rid of the criminal, where's the crime? A lot of African-American people are working class people, or they have jobs in government positions and things like that. They're bus drivers, mailmen, garbage men. They have these very dignified jobs. Those people deserve to live in areas that are safe. So give them safe areas. Get rid of the criminals. And we are evil, and we are vacuous of compassion by arguing that the criminals are somehow deserving of sympathy. There's a saying, I think Adam Smith, someone said this. It goes something to the likes of mercy to the criminal is cruelty to the victim. It's very true. The future is bright for El Salvador and its relationship with the United States. El Salvador Caucus co-chairman Matt Gaetz told the Washington Examiner last week the El Salvador Caucus delivered a huge win when the State Department agreed to lower El Salvador's travel advisory from level 3 to level 2 in response to the caucus's August letter. In just 3 months, our work has achieved real results for the betterment of our nations. There you go. So it does work. And that's what needs to happen here. That's what needs to happen here. There needs to be a harsh policy against criminality. Bottom line. And that's why a lot of people have been turned off by the Democrat Party, because the Democrats have become the party of criminality. It's very simple.